Welcome to Zoom and welcome to everyone here to the New Brighton Community Center. I want to thank you all for being here. My name is Tom. I'm the Minnesota MUFON State Director. And let's just jump right into our slides. Hey, that's a good place to start. Thank you, Joe. So what's up in Minnesota? We do this every month. And what I do is I take a look at cases that have come in since our previous meeting. If we've completed any, I'll tell you how they've completed. If they're new cases, I'll give you oversights of the new cases. And now at the end of the year, so the first meeting of the year, I kind of recap everything that happened in the previous year. And then I give you the whole new what's up in Minnesota. So this is the year in review. So it's got different information than the typical what's up. We'll get to the regular what's up after this. So this is from obviously January 1st of 2023 through December 31st, 2023. So we're going to start off with overview of cases. So case summaries, Minnesota alone, we had 93 cases compared to 89 in 2022. So we get up a few more cases. The submission date range was January 1st through December 30th. I don't know if you recall last year when I did this, but there was like a big gap at the beginning and end of the year. Like people didn't report during the holidays, but not this year. They right on January 1st, they're reporting all the way up to December 30th. So the sightings date ranges on this is always so cool. We had a case come in this past year from 1938. That's not a typo. They're from 1938. I mean, the case is 80 plus years old. So people go, oh, you know, I had the sighting, but it was so long ago. Should I still report it? Like, hey, we're getting cases in there at 80 years old. So if your case is older than 80, let's talk. If it's not, get in there and report it. So yeah, we can certainly investigate on that. And of course, all the way through December 29th of 2023. We had 6 cases of interest, and last year we had 8 cases of interest, so we only had 6 this year. So case of interest is when someone reports a case. It first goes to the global headquarters. They look at everything before they send it off to the chapters. They look at this case and, oh, this actually might be an extraterrestrial being or craft. They mark it as a case of interest to like really look at it closely because they think it might be something that would be, could be legit. So had 6 of them this past year. Overview of cases. So these are the shapes that were reported to us. We had 1 bullet missile was reported to us, 1 chevron. Chevron's kind of like a V shape is what a chevron is. We had 4 cigars reported, 19 circles, 1 cylinder, 3 discs, 3 fireballs, 2 where they just said it was not applicable, 5 others, 6 ovals, 1 Saturn-like, 18 spheres, 5 square rectangles, 3 star-like, 1 teardrop, 1 tic-tac, 7 triangles, and 6 unknown. So does anybody have any questions about any of the shapes or anything like that? Or anything I've talked about so far in the year in review? No? And if you do have questions online, put it in the chat and one of them will let me know and I'll try to answer your question. So valet classification. So we're going to talk about valet classifications a little bit more when we get into the other part of what's up in Minnesota. But these are, so when Project Blue Book was happening, why am I blanking on his name? J. Allen Hynek, thank you. Was developing this with Jacques Vallée. Hello, Vallée, right there. Yeah. They want to do it scientifically, so they're gathering all this information. What happens when you gather lots of scientific information? You start looking for commonalities. How do you categorize this? How do you put them in groups? How do you look for patterns and whatnot? So this is what the Vallée classifications are. So AN stands for anomalies. So we had 16 anomalies of the first kind. We had 2 anomalies of the second kind, 6 anomalies of the third kind, 1 anomaly of the fourth kind, and we didn't have any anomalies of the fifth kind. So CE, that stands for close encounters. I'm sure everyone's heard of the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That's a Vallée classification. So we had 16 close encounters of the first kind. We didn't have any close encounters of the second kind. We had 4 close encounters of the third kind, 1 close encounter of the fourth kind, and we didn't have any close encounters of the fifth kind. Now FB stands for flyby. So we had 25 flybys of the first kind, 2 flybys of the second kind, and we didn't have any of the third, fourth, or fifth kind. So, and actually, flybys are the most common report we get, so it's not surprising that we see 25 on there. So, and the next category is MA. MA stands for maneuvers. So we had 20 maneuvers of the first kind and none of the other kinds. So all of our maneuvers were 20 MAs of the first kind. So, and this is something that MUFON started within the past few years. They've put little letters at the end of the case number because there'd be a case number and you used to have nothing after it. Now you'll see it. There's a case number and there'll be usually at least 1 letter or a series of letters. And I never found out what those letters are called. So I've nicknamed them qualifiers. To me, it kind of qualifies what the cases are. And so there's A for abduction. There's U for UFO, E for entity, and EQ for experience or questionnaire. And you can have 1 or a combination of those. So this past year, we got 1 that had an AEQ, so abduction with an experience or questionnaire. 1 was just an entity. 1 was an entity abduction EQ, experience or questionnaire. We had 2 EEQs, so entity and experience or questionnaire. 77 U's, just UFOs. That's all they were saying. And then we had 1 was a UFO and an abduction. We had 1 was a UFO and an entity. and 5 U, E, and EQ. So that's the cases that we got in 2023 in overview. Okay, so here's an overview of what the case conclusions were. So as of pulled this data this morning. So 89 were completed and 4 were still in progress. So dispositions are only on completed cases, but most were completed. So we had 3 cases that were ERT only. We had 3 we determined were a hoax. We had 32 were IFOs. IFOs, identified flying objects. We were able to tell what those were. We had 6 information onlys, and information onlys can be a variety of things. Sometimes it's, oh, my friend told me this, or my grandfather told me this. He passed away. He can't report it. It's not the actual witness reporting it. It's someone else reporting it on a witness's behalf. That'd be information only. 10 insufficient data, and sometimes that means that we can't get a hold of the witness and they won't return our call. We can't talk to them. Sometimes there's just not enough data to make a good determination. And 32 are unknown. We weren't able to identify 32 of our cases this past year. So, okay, and who did all this work? Our fantastic field investigators did all this work. So here, yeah, give them a big round of applause. So here are all the people who worked on cases for Minnesota MUFON this past year. Anna Scott, now I mentioned Anna. She's the actual North Dakota State Director right now, but she does a bang up job on her cases, does great work. So she did cases for us. Now, George Medich, I've got an asterisk after his name. He's not from Minnesota. He heads up the ERT team. So a lot of times he gets put on cases that are ERT cases. So he's not a Minnesota MUFON investigator, but his name is on one of our cases for an ERT. So, and Jared Nelson, my assistant state director, Joel Henry, who many of you may know, Kathy Blixrud is one. Our new chief investigator, Linda Folkerts Maleka, is on there too. And Bob Spearing. Now, Bob's got an asterisk as well. So Bob is the case assistant group for the international cases. So what a case assistant group is say a chapter has too many cases for the field investigators that they have, or they've got cases and there's no field investigators. These are investigators from other areas that will come in and they'll investigate the cases, a case assistant group. And Bob leads up the international one. So there's other countries that are short on field investigators, have too many cases or no investigators. He leads up that group investigating those cases. Peter Collins, I think we're going to see some of Peter Collins' cases today. And Steve Hero, a longtime Minnesota MUFON member, he's on top of those cases. He completes his cases like crazy. He's always on top of them. I was even on a case. Look at that. I'm on a case. So, and Bill Odden in the back there. Give Bill a big round of applause. Bill's been with us a long time. I think we're going to see like at least two of Bill's cases today. William Palmieri, one of our newer field investigators, as is William Andig, one of our newer field investigators. And our speaker today and our other chief investigator, Mr. Bill McNeff. Bill's on the Zoom call. Give Bill a big round of applause. Bill's just been a great resource for Minnesota MUFON, for MUFON Global, for the whole ufology community in general. Bill's just a wealth of knowledge and resources. So yeah, it's great to have him in our chapter actually. So let's see. So here's I do the stats usually for the month. Here's our year in review stats. So our 2023 global stats, there's 8,332. And actually now, because remember I used to show the year's totals for a while. And I think that's gone up from a little bit because it peaked around 10,000 a few years back and then kind of dropped down again. I think this is higher than last year. I didn't think about that. I'm gonna check that to see if our numbers gone up. Maybe I'll report on that next month and show you what the numbers are. But last year, we had 6,714 in the US, 369 in the United Kingdom, 321 in Canada, 199 in France, going all the way down to Sweden with 10, Turkey 9, Colombia 8. And there's a few more. Actually, there's a lot more down here, but totaling 8,332 cases came into MUFON. And think about that. 8,332 came into MUFON. And why I want to emphasize that is not everybody that has a sighting reports to MUFON. They simply don't. It just doesn't happen. And of course, like some of these countries where the numbers are lower, there's good reasons why those numbers are lower. It's not because there's fewer sightings there. There's other things like access to computer, access knowing English and stuff like that. So if 8,332 were reported to us, I mean, how much is actually being seen out there? I mean, the numbers, I would guess probably, I'm just throwing it, I would guess 20,000 or more. I feel like that's probably relatively safe because I would think we probably get less than half of the sightings that happen. That's just my guess. So yeah, so it's a much bigger phenomenon than what usually the mainstream media and the news will tip their hat to. So, and so overview of states report stats by state. So California is always up there as with Florida. So California had 728, Florida had 504, Texas had 453. We are down here right at the bottom. We're at 93 last year. So, and of course there's more states down there, but yeah, we squeaked in there with 93. So that's what we had last year. So, and that's by submission date. That's not sighting date. It's by submission date. And of course, overview of stats of shapes reported. So circles are always up there, 1,527 circles, 1,054 spheres, 628 others, 607 unknowns, 573 triangles, going down to 38 cones, 36 teardrops, 19 crosses, and 1 dumbbell. Isn't there always one dumbbell in the group? There's always one dumbbell in the group. It's got to be one dumbbell in the group. So we got a dumbbell in this group too. So how about that? So that's our stats shapes for 2023. All right, so our sightings by distance. So less than 100 feet. There's 993 reports. People said they saw what they saw from less than 100 feet away. 101 feet to 500 feet, 977 of them. So between the two of them, that's a better part of 2,000, less than 500 feet away. 501 feet to a mile, 1473. Over a mile, 1691. 1,079 had unknown values, and 209 had no values. People reported 251 landings, hoverings, and takeoffs, and they reported over 413 entities. They reported 413 entities. And remember, that's just, again, what got reported to us. 413 is what got reported to us. That's more than an average of one a day. And of course, granted, usually a lot of times when people see entities, they're in groups, so it's not like there's literally one every day, but it gives you an idea. And if that's just what got reported to us, again, what are people really seeing? What are people really experiencing out there? Okay, so now we're going into the actual, so that's it for the year review. So now we're going to go into our monthly report. So our monthly report goes from the day of our last meeting in December through yesterday. So I'm catching up for everything that happened since the last time we met. So the global rankings, again, the United States at 377 or 337, with France at 30, Canada at 16. Now we've done Thailand with 1, and United States outlying minor islands with 1, for a total of 458 from December 9th through yesterday. So, and of course, our rankings by state. Again, California is always up there with 31, Florida's 28, Texas at 20, Michigan 18. We're down here. Big cluster of 7s. Illinois had 7, Indiana had 7, Louisiana had 7, Massachusetts had 7, we had 7, Missouri 7, Oklahoma 7, South Carolina 7, Wisconsin 7, down to Jersey and Oregon with 6, and I think it's Alabama with 5. So yeah, so lots of 7s this year or this month. So, and of course, MUFON shapes reported 97 circles, 52 spheres, 41 unders, 34 unknowns, 24 discs, going out of 1 cross, 1 cone, 1 bullet missile, and 1 dumbbell. One dumbbell is, like I said, there's got to be 1 dumbbell in every group. Here's a dumbbell for this group. So, all right. And our distance stats from December 9th through yesterday, we had 47 come in from less than 100 feet away. We had 50 from 100 feet to 500 feet. 85 were 501 feet to a mile. 81 were over a mile. 74 they just didn't know, and 16 had no values. And there was 18 landings, hoverings, and takeoffs reported, and 31 entities observed. Again, I can never get over the entities observed. You know, before I was into this or kind of coming to meetings and stuff or looking at these stats, I would have guessed the entities observed would have been like single digits or maybe low to mid double digits would have been my guess, like low to mid teens. 31 is still kind of low for what we average. I usually see mid 30s. I mean, we saw I think 1 in the mid 20s last year, but that's pretty rare. So having up in the 30s is real. I find it very interesting and remarkable. So. Okay, so here's our What's Up in Minnesota updates. So updates, these are all cases I've shown you before that were not completed. Since then, they have completed. So I'm going to show you how they've concluded. And there's a lot of them. We had a lot of cases closed this month. I think we had like 6 or 7 cases closed this month. So let's get into the updates. And I kind of breeze over the beginning of them a little bit faster because we've seen them before, but the conclusion I spent a little more time on. Okay, so case number 135643-U, so U, there's that qualifier I was talking about. Took place on November 30th of 2023 at 3:34 a.m. A sphere was seen in Rochester. Steve Hero has assigned it. Of course, like I said, Steve gets his case. He's on top of those cases. Of course, Steve's has done them. So I'm not sure what these objects could be. Could someone explain? I'm not for sure they're not airplanes. Let's see what Steve found out. So Steve completed IFO man-made object. So he enlarged the video and slowed it down so you can see what transpired. It looks like the smaller object is moving in a straight line from right to left, similar to a satellite. And the larger object appears to be dropping lower on the horizon, which also indicates movement, but the object is on a trajectory parallel to the observer's line of sight. So it's hard to tell if it's moving. As they continue to move, they disappear. This is most likely because they pass into the Earth's shadow and they no longer reflect the sunlight, making them appear no longer visible to the naked eye. I'm calling this case IFO man-made satellite. So thank you, Steve, for your work on that. Steve always does a fantastic job for us. Case number 134912-U. They didn't have a date for this one. They didn't give us a date, and that's probably a default time. They just put in 12 midnight. A sphere was seen in Apple Valley flying by, stationary orbs, and they so Bill Odden in the back here. Bill was working on this. Let's see what Bill, and I think this is the one. Bill had 2 cases that closed. Same witness, same. So it's very, very similar. I think this is one of the 2 where it's very similar. So, and Bill says IFO natural phenomenon. So IFO, the witness has been seeing orbs in the sky for years. He said the orbs were in the sky at the time and gave me their location. I went outside and looked and could not find them. There's a tree covering up part of the sky. This could be why I did not see it, but he has seen flashing orbs for 15 years. I believe he was seeing objects and they were like Starlink satellites. His description all those years were the same and they matched the Starlink satellite. The witness said he would see these for 3 hours, which meant they were not Starlink. He could be looking at regular stars and other times it could be Starlink too. So yeah, and seeing it for 15 years continue like that, that strikes me as a little bit odd. A lot of times when people are seeing stuff, they see it, it's like a one-time event. It's not like you'll go out there every night, you're seeing the same thing over and over. That does happen occasionally, not for 15 years, but you will see that where, 3 nights in a row this happened or something like that. So the 15 years does strike me as odd. So he concluded that was a Starlink IFO natural phenomenon. So thank you for your work on that, Bill. Case number 134929-U took place on 10/22/2023 at 1 a.m. A sphere was seen in Apple Valley, multiple changing orders, multiple lights in a row. So this is Bill again. I think is this the same witness, Bill? Is this the one that's the same witness, I think? Yeah. So same thing, seen orbs for sky for years. So this is the same guy, same report and stuff. IFO natural phenomenon, could be Starlink or regular stars. So thank you for your work on that, Bill. And case number 135276-U took place on November 7th of 2023, 8:15 p.m. A bullet missile in Maple Grove. Noticed line of multiple lights moving slowly. Peter Collins was working on this one, and let's see what Peter determined on this one. Yeah, I love when they do drawings. I mean, it's not as fancy the drawing that I showed you from Project Aquarius, but even the drawing like this, I think it's very, very cool. I love when they send in drawings like that because it's great to kind of get a visual on what they see, and it kind of helps fill in the blanks a little bit. So. It's interesting too, because if you look, he actually drew and he erased them and he tried to correct his own drawing. So it's like, it wasn't quite perfect enough. So he did some work to kind of get them a little more accurate. So I really appreciate that. So unknown UAVs, I do believe the witness and his sister did see an object in the sky. The witness is very credible and was very confident in what he saw. When the witness was telling how the object was moving slowly and that it was disappearing behind trees, I thought it may have been a plane. Crystal Airport in Crystal, Minnesota, which is about 6 miles southeast of the witness location. There is a possibility that witness saw a plane making an approach for a landing. The lights that witness described are too many for a plane, but it's still a possibility. Could have been a plane since the sighting lasts 8 to 10 seconds. Can't determine what witness and his sister saw in the sky, but I feel confident the witness and his sister did see an object. So he's given that the disposition of unknown UAV. And UAV is unidentified aerial vehicle, aerial vehicle. So thank you, Peter, for your work on that. And case number 134956-U took place on 10/7/2023 at 8:33 p.m. Up in Forest Lake. A circle was seen. Witness Bill Odden was working on that. Man, Bill's got his fingerprints on all over the cases today. Good job, Bill. Thank you for all the work you're doing for us. So he could. Oh yeah. So here's the one photograph that we got from that one. So this is the object right here that they're referring to. And completed unknown other. The witness was out on his deck looking at the sky when he saw 3 orbs. They were about 5,000 to 10,000 feet up and moving in different directions. A short time, they were joined by 2 more orbs. After a while, they disappeared. A dark area looked to form, and 3 orbs flew into it and disappeared. That was the end of the orbs for that night. There was no noise, and they flew in a set pattern or no set pattern. He did get a picture of which showed 1 orb. So unknown other on that one. So unknown other, we're not saying it's a craft per se, but we can't identify what it is. It's something else, but we don't know exactly what that is. So thank you for your work on that, Bill. Case number 134584-U took place on 10/6/2023 at 3:52 in Hermantown, which is in St. Louis County. A teardrop was seen. Peter Collins working on that one. So let's see what Peter came up with on that one. Oh yes, I think so this is the object right there in that little dot right there. So that's what we're looking at on that one. So let's see what he came up with on that. So he said IFO, identified flying object, identified other. I believe that the greenish light was the result of lens flare due to the sunlight increasing through the trees from the wind blowing. The black object can be seen in the video, but cannot be identified. The black object could possibly be a bird, a drone, or something else. Yeah, because it looks odd to me. I just can't figure. And he did submit some other pictures. I just didn't have them handy here, but yeah, he did submit some other pictures. But yeah, it is kind of odd. It just kind of stays in that area. So drone's a possibility. Just can't say for certain what that is. So thank you for your work on that, Peter. Here's a case of interest. Case number 134475-U took place on September 25th of 2023. A sphere was seen in Ely, Minnesota. Again, Peter Collins was worked on this one. The object appeared again briefly, performing what appeared to be replication after disappearing after several minutes. He said, completed unknown UAV. So the witness is very credible and was very consistent in explaining his sighting during his interview. I reviewed the videos which documents and supports the witness's sighting. Witness has video proof of his sighting which supports his report. So he's given an unknown UAV. Case number 134373-U-E. Remember, it can have one or all or as many, any combination of those. Took place on June 1st of 2016 at 7 p.m. A sphere was seen in Bloomington. Bill McNeff, our very own Bill McNeff, was checking this one out, working on that. Yeah, so a white man said behind him, it's a hoax, it's a hoax, I'm sorry. So let's see what Bill determined. So completed a hoax event. So Bill said, review of the reported data provides no reason to think that the object was nothing other than a failed attempt at a hoax, which fooled only the witness. This disposition is a hoax event. So, and I've talked about this before. So there's two different types of hoaxes that MUFON identifies. There's a hoax event, and there's a hoax keystroke. So a hoax event is where someone is hoaxing something out in space in real time. So an event is happening, but it's someone is hoaxing it. And that's the thing too. When you hear of a hoax event, the witness may or may not be the perpetrator. Just because it's a hoax event, you can't go, oh, that person, they perpetrated the hoax. They may not have. They may have witnessed the hoax and not known what it was. So they genuinely, sincerely reported it, not knowing what it was, and we were able to determine it was a hoax. The other one is a hoax keystroke. So a hoax keystroke is when someone sits down on the computer and just types up a story and sends it in to us. Nothing actually happens out in real space-time other than them sitting at the computer making up a story. So this is a hoax event. So thank you for your work on that one, Bill. So now our new cases. So these are new, there's new cases. So from January, so December 9th through January 12th. And did I mention that? So cases submitted. So yeah, we had 7 cases come in. One is an ERT case. And I've talked about this in the past. So ERT stands for Experiencer Resource Team. So when we get an ERT case come in, there's a higher level of anonymity that we adhere to for the ERT cases. And so basically, I can't really tell you anything about the case itself unless it's like one of the stats up here. I can't identify that for you. And the reason I have the asterisk by this one ERT case, because what I found when I was in the database looking around, remember how I said there's those qualifiers and an EQ stands for Experiencer Questionnaire. That indicates an ERT case. Well, there's one case that has the EQ and its disposition was ERT only. So okay, that all makes, so I'm not going to show you anything about that one. But I was looking at another case. I think the qualifier was just a U. So I should be able to show that to you. But when I looked at the disposition was ERT only, which I wouldn't expect that unless there was an EQ on it. So I was like, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to show that or not. So I'm erring on the side of caution. I'm not going to show you that case either, but I'll show you the other 5 that aren't ERT related. So one is designated as an ERT case. Another one has a disposition of ERT only. So submission date range, December 9th, 2023 through January 3rd of 2024. The sightings range, not as cool as 1938. It's pretty typical. So July 16th of 2023 through December 29th of 2023. No cases of interest, but a wide variety of shapes. We're going to see one disc, one sphere, one star-like, one oval, one was not applicable, one Saturn-like, and one just didn't have a shape listed. And now the Valet classifications. I've talked to you about that a little bit. I want to give you a little more insight on what these Valet classifications mean or the definition. So we're going to look at 2 AN1s. So 2 anomalies of the first kind. So MUFON defines an anomaly of the first kind as anomalies that do not have lasting physical effects, such as amorphous lights or unexplained explosions. So something happens and then it's gone. There's really no evidence. It's just an anomaly. So 2 AN1s. We're going to look at 1 AN3. So it's an anomaly of the third kind. MUFON defines an anomaly of the third kind as anomalies with associated entities. This could include reports of ghosts, yetis, and other instances of cryptozoology, as well as elves and spirits. Not promising that's in this case, but that's what the definition is for an AN3. So we're going to see 2 FB1s. Remember, FB stands for flyby. They're the most common, FB1s are the most common cases we get. And MUFON defines an FB1 as simply a sighting of a UFO flying by in the sky, the category most frequently reported. So that's an FB1. We're going to see 2 MA1s. Again, MA stands for maneuver. So 2 maneuvers of the first kind that we're going to look at. And MUFON defines a maneuver of the first kind as gathers those UFO observations that involve an object with a discontinuous trajectory, such as a drop, a maneuver, or a loop. So we had 2 of those come in this month. So we're going to take a look at all of those. And then we'll be taking a break and then we hear from Bill McNeff. But yeah, so 5 cases, because 7 minus the 1 minus the other one, we got 5 cases we're going to show you. And one case has about 10 pictures. They're all very similar. At first, I thought they were submitting the same picture over and over and over again. They are different pictures, 10 pictures. And we've got a couple videos too. So the videos are kind of interesting. They're hard. A lot of times the videos, when it's dark out, it's hard to really get much out of it. But one, I think you'll kind of know what it is. The other one, it's just hard to say. But let's get into these cases. So case number 135724-E, so E for entity, took place on July 16th, 2023 at 12 a.m. Saturn-like object was seen, valid classification FB1, so just flying by. This took place in Brainerd. Unusual satellite-looking entity. So the short description, I always give you exactly what the witness puts in there. Unless they put a name, I'll take the name out. But other than that, that's exactly what they put in. The detailed descriptions get longer, but this is everything that they put in. So I was looking for satellites, potentially the space station, when I noticed a satellite-looking light moving from west to east across the whole visible opening of the sky. However, just above the horizon, as opposed to being typically in the sky, may have been July 16th as I look back. It did not flash in any way as one might see with an aircraft, and most notably, the light did not move from west to east in a typically straight line trajectory. This light seemed to move slightly in an upward downward fashion, as you might see watching a boat move through the water at night. So that's a really interesting description. So it's really, and it's interesting too, because this is obviously someone who looks at the sky a lot, so he's probably very familiar with what's normal satellites and things. So you kind of go, okay, if it's something unusual to this person, there might be something there. So Bill McNeff is working on this one, and when Bill McNeff completes it, I will give you an update on it. I don't think we've got any attachments on this one. So yeah, case number 135478-U, so U for UFO, took place on December 3rd of last year at 4 p.m. A sphere was seen, AN1, so anomaly of the first kind, in Coon Rapids. This is all they said, ball of colored light. The detailed description was, I went for groceries, I looked up at the sky, there was a ball of colored light. I took pictures of it. After downloading the pictures from my phone to my computer, there were several orbs around the ball of colors. I didn't notice the orbs until downloading the pics off my phone. If you want them, I will give them to you. And she did. So I'm going to show them to you. So Linda is currently working, our new chief investigator, Linda Folkridge-Maleka, is currently working on this one. It's in progress. And I'll show you it again when it's completed, but I'll show you the pictures right now. So I think this is what she's looking at, which that definitely could be a lens flare, because we're going to see in later pictures, the sun is like right here. I mean, in other pictures it's very clear, but I think the sun is right here. I think this is a lens flare, but I think she's also referring to like those three dots right there, maybe this one and that one. And there's this one up here too. So the thing about these series of photos, I'm not really clear based on her description what she's looking at. And that's why the field investigator, their interview is so important, because they can actually talk to them and question them and kind of get a better feel for what is actually there. So, and again, these pictures are all very similar. So at first I thought she submitted the same one over and over again. So it's there again, there's that flare. We're going to see the sun here better. Could be this up here. And there's those three again in a row there, and a couple more down here, and that one over here again. So again, very similar. This is that flare, I think. And then it's a couple up here and another one over here, that line of three right there. And it's funny too, because when I see stuff like that line of three, that can be so hard to tell sometimes, because that could be like a dried rain or something on her windshield, and very just small specks, but going to the camera, which is focusing out further, it looks funny like that. So it's hard to say what that was. So, and if you notice too in her description, she said something like, I didn't see them when I took the picture, but I saw them afterwards. That always kind of keys me in. It could be a lens flare, because lens flares you don't see with naked eye, but they show up in the picture. So pick number 4, again, we've got our lens flare. We're getting a little more of the sun. We're going to see more of the sun. There's our 3 dots, a couple more here, that one up there, that one over there. All very similar pictures submitted here. And yeah, it's looking more like a lens flare. I'll show you the sun more, but there's those 3 and that one, another one, that one up there. So it'd be nice to know what she was thinking was really not identified. So, but actually this one that could be flare seems pretty stationary, but again, so does her camera view. It doesn't look like she's moving her camera around a lot either. So that can impact that. So now you're really getting to see the sun here better. And there's that flare, I believe those 3, a couple 2, and up there and up there. So, but these are all very similar. Yeah, you're really, if that's not the sun, I'm not sure what that is, but it's obviously definitely very bright. And you don't really see the flare so much in this one. And that looks like the 3 spots there, but yeah, so. Again, we get the 3 spots there. That flare is kind of diminished in some of the other spots so it'd be really nice to know what she was identifying, is that she wasn't clear on what it was. So, and again, not so much the flare, but you can see the really bright light source in our 3 dots, another dot, and a couple of those that have been in other pictures. And our last one, yeah, still big bright light source. You barely even notice the flare here. And but see the 3 dots again, some other ones. So those are the 10 pictures she submitted. And you might go, those pictures are almost all the same. Why did you show us all 10 of them? And I talk about this occasionally. As a state director and as a MUFON representative, I try to strive to be as transparent with you as I possibly can. So if I got 10 pictures that were all the same, and I would say, well, they're pretty much all the same, I'm just going to show you 1 or 2. Well, that's not being very transparent. But if I show you everything that I can, I mean, I'm being as transparent as I can. So I want to be, and MUFON wants to be as open as we can. That's part of the reason why Project Aquarius is there. We want to show you the information that we have so you can see it and make your own decisions too. So even though they're very similar, I think it's important that you see, and it also gives you a better idea. This is typical of some reports that we get at times. So Case number 135-799. Is this the one that we've got a video on this one? I'm not sure. Is it? No, it was, yeah, 799. We've got a video on this one.
Yep. Yep.
So this took place on December 8th of 2023 at 9:38 p.m. An oval was seen, MA1, so maneuver of the first kind, in Spicer, Minnesota. I let my dogs out. How many times have I talked about we get reports because people were letting their dogs out? I mean, so here's another, let my dogs out. If there were not dogs, we'd have many fewer UFO sightings. People are letting their dogs out, and that's when they see these things. So out of my family cabin around 9:30 p.m. when I looked up, almost immediately a bright orb. I troll filmed this longer. I'm not sure what that means, but that's exactly what they wrote in there. So it was hovering over the lake shore and eventually went southeast across Green Lake near Spicer, Minnesota. I will attach the short video of this bright orb and this light's moving about. It turns the lights off at the end of filming, but they will go back on after the filming. So Steve Hero has investigated it and completed it, but we're going to show you the video first. Can we pull up the video? Honey. Yeah, I must look at it a little bit. Okay. See it on there. You'll see it. When you had that search bar at the bottom, did you have it at the bottom? If you get to the desktop. So it's not, yeah, it was down there before. So yeah, go to the desktops. I know you got them saved on the desktop. So if you go right to the desktop, you just open them up again. So minimize all that. It's on the. There you go. I think that's the left one. That's the one. And I make sure they're seeing that out on. Are they seeing it too? You might have to share it separately.
No, they're not seeing it.
Okay. Let's get it up and running first for here in the room. Oh, was it there? Okay. There we go. Yeah, hit play on that one. So there we go. And yeah, is it sharing it?
Oh, there. Sure.
Okay. We're going to try to share it for you in a second for those online. So, but you just got this, and see, that's not unusual for, but it's nice you got trees. You can kind of get some idea of, what kind of angle they're looking at. If they're not looking straight up, but they're looking where you get some trees in there. But a lot of times these nighttime videos, it's what we get is just a dot in a field of black. And there's not a lot we can do with that though. So can you share it for the people or no? Oh, you can't? Okay. So for the people at home, oh, you are, okay. We're going to see it in just a second. Are they seeing it now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Cool. So we can get back to the report. Should be the edge thing, I think, to leave down there. Should be where it's at.
Multiple screen thing.
Yep, I hear you. Cool. So Steve, he's completed it. Let's see if I've got control. Can you click on it?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Scan it.
Kind of like having the controls on the bottom.
No,
Last time.
I want it the other way. There we go.
Cool.
Just let it go.
Okay, so Steve completed that one, IFO man-made object. So since I was unable to contact the main witness and the secondary witness thought it might be a drone, I'm going to go with that conclusion for now. I will reopen this case if I ever hear from the main witness, but for now, this case is classified as IFO man-made object. So yeah, that's a tough one because you're not talking to the witness. So the witness is it's really key to talk to the witness, but the secondary witness thought it may be a drone. So that's good. And that's a key thing too. I'm going to go with this conclusion for now. It's important to remember that whenever we close a case and move on, it's closed or completed, but we're always opening up and open to changing the disposition as new information comes in. So we're not like, this is what it is. It's always going to be. It doesn't matter what you show me or tell me, it's going to stay that way. That's not us. If we have evidence or stuff that would change it, we'll certainly go in and we'll change the case. So thank you, Steve, for your work on that. We certainly appreciate all you do for Minnesota MUFON. Okay, case number 135978-U took place on December 29th of last year at 6:55 p.m. Starlight MA1, so maneuver of the first kind in Marshall, Minnesota. Bright lights in a row that started at the horizon and created a pattern going west to southwest very fast and disappeared abruptly, and not satellite pattern. So their detailed description, I just took a segment of it because it was kind of long, but series of bright lights that started at the horizon and rose quickly as if shooting stars in reverse, traveling from me west to southwest at an angle. This was way brighter than an airplane overhead and didn't look like fireworks in brightness or patterns. Silent and lasted about a minute. Based on the description, I bet some of you guys kind of probably already have an idea what that's probably going to be. I'm trying to think, we have a photo on this. We might have a photo on this. Yeah. So as you see this, you probably already recognize exactly what that is. I'm guessing. Of course, we'll investigate it, but that looks like a classic Starlink satellite launch. So I would be very sure that, pretty sure that's what it is. We'll let our investigators look at it because we have a way of going onto the internet, looking up what satellite launches are happening, when and where. We know where the person was. We can say, was there Starlink satellites going up in that area at that time? My guess is, just from looking at this, there probably was, because that just looks so typical of Starlink satellites. So. And we'll revisit that one once it's completed. So case number 136040-U took place on December 29th of 2023 at 6:55 p.m. A disc was seen, flyby of the first kind in Otsego. And this is interesting too, because I think, let's go back. Same date, same time, 12/29/6:55, 12/29/6:55. And the descriptions are, but different cities, those are in different cities, two different witnesses leaving Quick Trip gas station and noticed a string of lights in the sky, not Starlink. So he's saying it's not Starlink. Appeared to see a disc-like UFO that was tracking to a 45-degree angle. There were circle lights that wrapped around the equator of the disc. It was dark, and after a few moments, the light slowly faded to black. It was flying much lower than a jetliner and more of a helicopter altitude. And so this one is the one we also have. We have a video on this one too, so you'll see the video. So you'll see how it looks very similar to the photograph, and you can kind of see, does it look like what you think of as a Starlink satellite when you see that? So, oh, you're not going to be able to get, okay. So basically, for those of you online, it was basically a video that looked almost exactly like that picture I just showed you. So yeah, so Otsego on 12/29 at 6:55, and on my clicker's not going. Can you get me clicking again? Okay. Okay, and here we go with Marshall, yeah, Marshall at 12/29, 6:55 p.m. So same day, same time. I don't know how close Otsego and Marshall are to each other, but I would guess they're not close at all?
3 hours.
Oh, they're 3 hours away. Okay. Well, of course, these aren't close to the ground either. So there is that. So, but
And Marshall is, as we sit right here, Marshall would be southwest.
Okay.
Otsego would be north and a little west. So in order for that Otsego to see what happened in Marshall, they would be having to be facing towards Sioux Falls, South Dakota. To see that. So that's why I'm asking which compass heading they were at to see it.
yeah. And the field investigator might be able to get a better bead on that one. So, and actually, me and Linda are assigned on this one, and I am assigned on that one. And that's probably going to Linda's probably going to do both of them. So she'll probably be on top of that and kind of get that figured out. So, yeah. Okay. So that's what's up in Minnesota for this year. We'll do a year in review next year, but just this month that's up for what's in Minnesota. So we're gonna take a break now.